What's up, guys? Cowboy here. At last, the video you've all been waiting for. My comprehensive guide to State of Decay Breakdown. Now, I know what you're saying. What in the hell is State of Decay? Well, State of Decay is a zombie survival sandbox game, kind of like GTA plus zombies. It was released on June 5th, 2013. I actually bought it for Xbox 360 on their store for less than $10 when it came out. If you want to pick up a copy today, you can get it on Steam, the Year 1 Survival Edition for $29.99, or you can get it in a bundle with State of Decay 2 for even less money. It's like 24 something. If you've never played State of Decay before, the breakdown mode is a harder mode where it gets harder and harder each level, and you kind of have to know what you're doing, at least the basic understanding of how to play the game before you take on breakdown. So I definitely recommend playing through the single player campaign. It's got like tutorial aspects to it, so it kind of teaches you as you go, and once you know what you're doing and you want more of a challenge, that's where breakdown comes in. When the game was released, the only thing you could do was play the campaign, and I played through it, and I liked it so much that I played through it again, and then shortly after that, the expansion came out with Breakdown, and Lifeline, I believe it's called, is the other single-player campaign that they added. Breakdown is perfect for me, because I didn't want to stop playing, and it just keeps going and going. You might be saying, who the hell are you? Like, why should I listen to you when it comes to Breakdown? Well, as of today, the date of this recording, I am ranked in the top 205 in both breakdown categories on Steam, and that's in the world. So I have played way too much of this game, and I do know what I'm talking about. I have kicked this game's ass, and I'm going to teach you how to do the same. So here we go. The basic mechanics of the game works like this. You start each level, your RV is broken down, you have a 6-person group along with Lily, the radio operator gal. So you have a population of 7 at the beginning of each level. The idea is to settle a base, find a replacement RV which is damaged and needs repairs, and you fix the RV, and then you leave town. And that's how you advance on to the next level. You choose which survivors to bring along with you.
Come on.
6 in total.
Thank you.
And it starts over again, and it gets harder with each level. You're going to see more and more zombies. You're going to see more and more freak zombies, and the damage that zombies do to you is actually increased. So let's get into this. Before you even start, you need to think about the composition of your group, because as you move on, you can only take 6 people with you. So your core group is always going to be 6, and you need to think about what kind of skills do I need, what kind of people do I need in this group. It should go without saying that you want positive personality traits. So if you have people with negative traits, like they're a psychopath, they're an alcoholic, they're a braggart, or even the physical traits too, like bum knee and pack-a-day smoker and stuff like that, like they're harder to level up, so they're not as valuable. If your people don't get along, it creates morale issues. The survivors don't like each other, people go off and run off and go missing and that kind of thing. In the beginning of the game, you kind of take whatever you can get. As you find better people, you start to phase out the people with negative traits. So you want to put some thought into the kind of people you're looking for when you're recruiting survivors. I'll tell you what I like to do is I go with 3 fighters that are going to be zombie killing maniacs that are going to be accomplishing missions for me. They're going to be gathering resources. They're going to be like the workhorse of my group. The other 3 people I have are people with the specialties that I need. When it comes to fighters, I think reflexes is the best special ability you can look for, because when you get your reflexes to level 4, it unlocks that sweep kick. You can just be tripping zombies, in all directions all around you as they come at you, and then just cave their head in while they're on the ground. It's for me, that's the most OP melee fighting technique that you can use in the game. You find somebody with reflexes, it's a rare ability, so that's what I look for my very best people. some of the heroes actually have reflexes as an ability. Ed Jones being one, for example. You unlock him simply by getting to Breakdown level 2. He's unlocked. He's one of the best characters in the game. He's my favorite character, personally, from the storyline. And he's a badass. He's got nothing but positive traits. He has reflexes. He's a badass. And Sam Hoffman is another one. I don't know how to unlock her. I can't remember right offhand, but I always do it by accident, so it must be easy. But she also is from the main storyline. She has reflexes. She's, nothing but positive traits. Absolute badass hero. I'm sure there are others, but those are the two I know offhand. And as far as the special skill you can unlock, I think the only one that makes any sense to use is Ninja, to make searching silent always. I mean, the combat stamina power-ups are nice, but you're still going to run out of stamina eventually. Ninja means you're never going to be in a situation where you're searching and, oops, that was loud. Now you're getting swarmed by zombies. In order to unlock Ninja, you have to get your wits to level 7, and you do that by searching. You get XP by searching. You got to remember, you're going to be searching for materials in every level all the way through the game. It never stops. So to just never have to worry about that is worth it. Pro tip, if you're trying to level up to unlock Ninja, if you have a library in your base, you get double XP from searching. So that's a way to level up people quickly. Now let's talk about 3 specialists. What kind of specialists are you going to need in Breakdown? Number 1, no-brainer, is medicine. You need somebody with medical skill. You need a trained healer in your medical area so that you can get the additional bonus, so people will recover from injuries faster. People are going to get sick. People are going to get hurt. You need a doctor, absolutely. The second one is cooking, because I like to prepare a feast for every level, because you get 10% vitality and stamina bonus for everyone in your group. It takes 30 minutes to prepare a meal. I do it every level. It's just, why not get those bonuses? And then the third one is construction skill, and you need somebody to run your machine shop. Now, as far as doctors go, if you can't find anybody with medical skill, sometimes it's hard. It's kind of random. So you can unlock Doc Hansen and use him. I think you have to create stimulants, or maybe it's make homemade painkillers X amount of times, then you unlock Doc. So it takes a little time to do that, obviously. But if you can't find a doctor any other way, just go ahead and unlock Doc and use him. One thing I will say is, maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like Doc just has a tendency to go missing. He's always disappearing. You have to really babysit him, because he just has a tendency to run off and get himself killed, at least in my experience. So think about what kind of group you're going to build before you start recruiting people. It just makes your life a little bit easier. The way that I play through the game is I'm trying to get through every level as fast as I can. I'm all about speed. Just keep that in mind for this guide. Now, before I get into that, I want to talk about things that I consider to be cheating that I don't use. A couple of them have to do with the Year 1 Survival Edition and what it added to the game. But the first one is fast travel, where if you're out in the world, you can pop up your menu and switch to another person at any time, and you'll take control of that person back at your base. And then when you pop up the menu again, look at your people, the person that you just were, it says they're away from the base. And when you switch to them, it teleports them back to the base immediately. This is commonly referred to as fast travel in State of Decay. And I don't have a problem with it in certain situations where it's just for your own convenience. That's what you want to do. For example, the RV is on the complete opposite side of the map. You have to drive all the way there to, be able to start repairing it. And then you have to turn around and drive all the way back. If you have several cars and you don't care about sacrificing a vehicle, once you get out there, you can just use fast travel to come back to the base instead of driving all the way back, just to save yourself some time. In that instance, you're just doing it for your own convenience. You're not cheating the game. So you're sacrificing a vehicle to do it. I don't have any problem with that. Let's say you're about to get your person killed and they're being mauled by zombies, and you go ahead and switch to somebody else and then fast travel them back to their base to save their life. Yeah, to me, That's 100% cheating, and I don't do that. Also, the Year 1 Survival Edition added some features that are game breaking in my opinion. One of the things you can call in like a special survivor, and her name is Guru Bani something or other, and she has like medical skills, she has reflexes, she has lots of abilities. She's like a jack of all trades. She's not game breaking. I mean, if you want to use her, she can be killed just as easily as anyone else. She's not a cheating character, so that I'm fine with. You can't find a doctor, bring Guru Bani into the game because, like I said, she can't do anything that any other character can't do. The one that is game breaking to me is the Preppers pack, and that's another thing. You can only call in Guru Bani once, and like if you get her killed, that's it. For your whole rest of your playthrough, you can't ever get her again. So the Preppers pack, you could call in, I think on every level, like unlimited all the way through the game, and you get this SKS rifle with an under the barrel 40mm grenade launcher, and the whole package only weighs like 8 pounds. Like combination of AR, or I mean it's a single shot semi-auto rifle and a grenade launcher with that, like there's no weight penalty for that. That to me is game breaking. It's a cheater gun that just makes the game too easy. So I don't use that. And the other thing is you get an SUV like delivered to wherever you're standing. So like, quick, I need a vehicle. Oh, summon this SUV out of the sky. And that to me is just, it's so OP and ridiculous that it breaks the game. And it would be one thing if you could only do that once and then it was gone, you could never activate it again. Yeah. No, that's not how it works. You can do it as many times as you want. So I consider that to be cheating. Hey, if that's the only way you can get through the game, you do you. So let me get into my strategy here. When you start Breakdown from the very beginning, level 1 is unique from every other level. The way it works is you can choose a hero if you have heroes unlocked, or you can play as a randomly generated random character. And you start out in the world in a random spot, and you have Lily in the radio telling you need to find a community to join, and you look at your map. There's like 3 options of communities. So you go to one of them, join their community, and now you can control that community just like you could like in the regular game. From that point on, you repair the RV and you leave town to advance to the next level. That's level 1. Every other level after that starts in exactly the same way, which is your RV with the people you've chosen to come with you is broken down in a random location. There's like 20 possible starting locations. One of them is chosen. There you are. The RV is your base, and now the level has begun. So the first thing that you need to do, step 1, is find yourself a vehicle. Now this is why I mentioned that calling in a vehicle out of the sky is game breaking, because it ruins this whole aspect of the game. In order to find a vehicle, sometimes, where you spawn, there happens to be a vehicle really nearby. It's like, hey, there it is, go over and get it. Awesome. Because you need a vehicle in this game. You're not going to get anything done on foot. It's extremely dangerous to run around on foot, especially as you get deeper into the game. If you don't see a vehicle close by, you can usually climb up and perform a survey somewhere near where you started the level, and a lot of times you can climb up and spot a vehicle from the sky. If you don't find a vehicle performing a survey, your next option is you have to send somebody out on foot to find a vehicle. Now this is the most dangerous situation that you can be in the game, and I love it because it's terrifying. Like, make no mistake, you can definitely get people killed doing this. This is the only time where having an ability other than ninja for one of your characters makes sense. If you give somebody who has level 7 cardio the marathon ability, then their stamina drains 50% slower while sprinting. So you can sprint for a very long distance. Now, Ninja is OP, but for this situation, Marathon, if you have one person with Marathon, it's great. Because you're going to have to run possibly a long distance before you find something. So what I would typically do is I have one person whose job it is specifically at the beginning of each level to go out and bring back a vehicle. And I give that person the Marathon ability. But if you don't have somebody like that, it's okay. You just have to make sure that you gear up appropriately. You have plenty of meds, ammo. You need to have some tools with you to deal with a feral, because that's going to be the most dangerous thing you can encounter. You might consider like going with like a lightweight handgun and then like a grenade launcher. Like the brake loading grenade launcher only weighs something like 8 pounds, 7 or 8 pounds, and you could carry a few grenade rounds and blow up a feral. The alternative to that is just using petrol bombs. Make sure you bring petrol bombs so when they charge you, you can throw the petrol bomb in front of you and they'll just charge right into fire and burn themselves to death. Whatever you do, you want to be extremely careful. Sneak around if you have to. Zombie hordes can be a problem. You only have so much stuff you can carry, so you just have to be careful. And you want to make sure you go toward one of the big towns. Like, whichever town you're closest to, head for the town. You know there's going to be vehicle spawns in the town. Don't just, wander off down a dirt road or something. A pro tip, the best vehicle in the game for my money is the modern pickup. If you can find that, it has the best balance of speed, handling, durability, and cargo capacity. If I could only drive the modern pickup, I would. That's how good it is. So anyway, once you have found a vehicle, step 2 at the beginning of every level is settle a base. You need to settle a base as quickly as possible, because the way Breakdown works is after you've settled your first base, it starts a 20-minute timer, and after that 20 minutes has elapsed, the location of the new RV is revealed to you. You get Lily on the radio saying, "I found a vehicle on the edge of town," or whatever. And then you can go out and start repairing it immediately. Keeping in mind that I'm trying to go fast. I'm trying to beat the level in a minimum amount of time. It takes 1 hour, 1 full hour to repair the RV. So if you're doing math here, you've got the time from the moment you start the level to the time you settle a base, plus 20 minutes, plus 1 hour. That's how long it takes you to beat each level. So let's talk possible base locations. Now, your population at the beginning of the level is only 7, so right away, Snyder Trucking and Marshall is off the table. You don't have enough people to settle there. Same thing with the fairgrounds, the military encampment to the north. You need 10 people to settle there. So that leaves you the Kirkman residence in Trumbull, the church where the single-player campaign starts, the farm, the Alamo Mexican restaurant in Marshall, and the Savini residence. Now you can settle any one of these, they'll all work, but the best one is the Savini residence in Marshall by far, for 2 reasons. One, it has a guard tower already. It's the only place in the game that has a guard tower built in. If you don't have a guard tower, it takes 1 hour to build, not to mention the cost, whatever the material cost is. So after an hour, you're almost ready to beat the level anyway. So the guard tower at that point is kind of useless. It's so much easier to defend your base with a guard tower. The second thing is just it's the geography of this place. You have the river behind it to the north, which means no zombies can come from the north whatsoever. Zombie hordes. And the river, the bridge that crosses the river to the east is a choke point, so you can put 1 outpost on the other side of that bridge, and any zombie hordes that come from the east have to cross through that area and they'll be destroyed by the outpost. Then you have 2 buildings to the south a building directly to your next door to the west. You can make all of those into outposts, and you have like complete coverage of your base with only 4 outposts. It's by far the easiest location to defend from zombie hordes. Something fun you can do if you do have a guard tower and you pay attention to which one of your survivors tends to go up there and be on, tower duty. It's usually a couple of people that are doing it all the time. You can give those people heavy duty weapons like LMG or even like the 6-shot, revolver style grenade launcher, and just watch them rain down grenades on zombies as they approach. It's just, I like to do that sometimes just for fun, even though they can actually damage you with those grenades, and like, I don't know if they can kill you or not, but they can definitely damage you. But you get somebody up there with a big machine gun, it can be pretty funny to watch them just go off, just mowing down zombies, because the AI has unlimited ammo. So once you built your base, what facilities are best? What do you need to build in Breakdown? To me, I build the same 3 facilities every time. I build a medical area that's going to be upgraded to an infirmary. Why not? Why do I do that? Because you get an increased healing chance from the infirmary upgrade. You need a medical area to help your people recover from illness or injury. Why not upgrade it further? Because you don't get any additional healing bonus for upgrading anything past the infirmary. Plus, we're trying to beat the level as fast as possible. We don't have time for that. I build a sleeping area that gets upgraded into a bunkhouse. Why upgrade? Because you don't actually get additional beds until it becomes a bunkhouse. And then number 3, you need a workshop. You need a workshop because A, you can't upgrade to a bunkhouse without one, and B, you need to craft suppressors. You always need suppressors. You need a workshop for that. That's it. I build the same 3 every time. That's going to get you through the level fast with everything you need. Once you've settled your base, the 3rd step is to gather resources and build outposts. Now you'll remember I told you once you settle your base, you start a 20-minute timer before the location of the RV is revealed. So during that 20 minutes, you have nothing better to do than gather materials and build outposts to defend your base. And that way, by the time you find the RV, you have resources already ready to go to repair it. How many resources do you need? Well, the RV is going to require 10 building materials to fix the tires, 25 fuel to fuel it, 10 medicine to disinfect it, and 20 building materials plus 5 fuel to repair the engine. Your base itself, if you build it as I described, is going to cost you 10 materials for the medical area, plus 25 to upgrade to infirmary. Bunkhouse costs 5 to build, sleeping area, and 25 to upgrade into a bunkhouse. And the workshop costs 5 building materials to build. So that brings your grand total to 100 building materials, 30 fuel, and 10 medicine. That's what you need, bare minimum, to beat each level. That breaks down into rucksacks like this. You need 7 rucksacks of building materials, 6 of fuel, and maybe 1 or 2 of medicine. Now you'll notice I didn't mention ammo or food at all because you don't need either one to beat the level. You need a little bit of food to keep your community sustained, and a rucksack or 2 of ammo so you always have bullets. But those are the least critical. Food is the easiest to find. It's everywhere. Building materials, when you find them, you find a lot of them. 15 in every pack. So ammo, it's like if you find ammo, bring it back. If you don't, it's not a big deal. You're going to have a lot of ammo as you go through the game. And medicine, when you start a level of breakdown, you start with 10 medicine. So you don't actually need to gather any in order to repair the RV. You want to gather 1 or 2 rucksacks if you can, just in case the community needs some medicine. Occasionally they'll use your resources. They use a small amount each day, to maintain. So that leaves fuel. And fuel is the most critical resource because it's the hardest to find. A lot of times you only find 1, jerry can, and you need 6 of those. So it's the hardest, the most scarce in the game. So let's talk about some tips for gathering materials. Number 1 is if you have extra resource, you can have Lily ask around for resources on the radio and try to identify where fuel is located, and she will almost always find fuel. I think it takes 30 minutes to do that. I'm not sure exactly. Costs you a little influence. You can definitely do that. But in general, for gathering, the number one most important thing is hit targets where you know you're going to find building materials and fuel. If you're searching through houses all the time to try to find fuel, it's pretty rare to find one that has a gas can. So instead, focus on the big industrial supply stores, warehouses, and construction sites, because those are the three best spots to find building materials and fuel, both in the same place. There are several of those spots around Marshall, so if you've taken my advice and you start at the Savini residence, that you're even better off. Now, I've got a trick for getting extra resources. I think it's a bug in the game. I'm not sure exactly, but you have to use scavengers in order to do it. So first, let me talk about scavengers and how to use them safely, because the AI in the game is very dumb and they will get your people killed. If you send scavengers out willy-nilly, they will most certainly get your people killed. Like, your best guy will run out of the base. He has a machine gun on his back, but he won't use it to fight zombies he encounters. He has, he's powered up all the way. He could use spin kicks. He could wreck zombies. Nope, the AI won't do any of that. They'll just get pounced on and get killed. So, the way to use scavengers is you call in the scavenger, and then you get the hell out of there. You completely avoid the path of the scavenger. Stay, if you send scavengers to the east, then you go west. You go get completely away from them. If you are not there to witness them being killed, they will not be killed. That seems to be the trick in this game, is if you send in scavengers and then you just vacate the area, they will not have any issues. They'll complete the mission, no problem. If you send in scavengers and then you hang around, you're risking them being killed. This just happened to me recently. I got one of my best guys killed because I called in for scavengers, and I get tied up, fighting some zombies or something, and before you know it, here he comes running up the street, and he gets pounced on by a feral, torn in half. That's it. He's dead. So the best thing you can do is, take the long way around, drive in a direction where you can't even see them, you're nowhere near them, and you're not going to have any problems. It's the same thing. Once in a while you'll get, runner in trouble and they need help and you go do that mission. At least you have a chance to save them at that point. That's not a big deal. It's the same thing when you complete a mission, like you do a Zed hunt, for example, and when you beat the mission, you would think your teammate, your base mate, partner would just get in the car with you and drive home. But they don't. They just say, oh, okay, thanks for the help, see you later, and they just go off on foot. They could be 50 miles from the base. They go off on foot. Many times, I've watched them run out of the immediate area where we are and just immediately get pounced on by a feral.
Come on!
Or, charged by the big zombie or whatever. What you do in that situation is you don't try to save them. You drive in the opposite direction and get the hell away from them, and they won't die. Just don't be there to witness it, and you're going to be fine. Trust me. This extra resource trick, I'm just going to go ahead and say that I invented this, because no one taught me how to do it. I learned it from playing the game. I'm sure a lot of people have done it as well, but I've never heard anyone talk about it. So this is how it works. You can get an extra rucksack of materials by using scavengers. What you do is, let's say you're at a construction site. You find building materials and you find fuel. Okay. Fuel obviously is the most scarce. So I use this trick on fuel all the time. What you do is you load up everything but the fuel into rucksacks. Everything but the resource that you want to double. Load them into rucksacks. Throw them on the ground. Put them in your truck. Whatever. Leave only the fuel there. And then go to the fuel. Call in scavenger. And it'll say scavengers inbound. And then you just load the fuel into your own rucksack and take it. And now it's saying there's nothing left. The construction site's empty. and you leave. And like I said, the scavengers are on the way. Avoid them. Go back to your base a different way. And when the scavenger shows up there, they will find whatever you called them in to find. Even though you already took it and it's gone, they'll find a sack of fuel and they'll bring it back. If you do this, that means you only need to find 3 fuel resources to beat each level. It makes your life a lot easier. You can use scavengers without getting your people killed if you do it the right way. And I'm just going to say it. I invented that. I'm the king. I invented that. You're welcome. When you're ready to start gathering materials and building outposts, every time you go out of your base, you should just build an outpost. Come back, build an outpost, go get your supply run, whatever, come back, because you can't build them all at the same time. There's a cooldown. So build one, do something, come back, build another one before you go out again, and so on until you have all 6 built. And Lily will not leave you alone about building outposts until they're all built, so you might as well build 6 of them, and it helps with your group morale and all that. So after 20 minutes has elapsed from the time you settle your base, it's time to repair the RV. Lily will announce she's found the RV. You drive out to it, get close enough to trigger that, hey, I found the RV event, and then you can immediately start repairing it. You don't even have to let her finish talking. You can go to your menu, start repairing it immediately once you've gotten there. Keep in mind that it takes a total of 1 hour to repair the RV. It takes 30 minutes to fix the engine, 15 to disinfect, 10 to fix the tires, and 5 to refuel. So my advice would be to start with disinfecting. It takes 15 minutes. Usually because you've just been gathering supplies, you have a lot of influence, and the disinfect costs 200 influence to do. Every other one only costs 100, so get the most expensive one out of the way first. Like I said, you start each level with 10 medicines, so even if you haven't found any, you can go ahead and disinfect it. But what I like to do is do the disinfect, repair the tires and refuel the RV, because it takes you 30 minutes to do those 3, and that leaves you 30 whole minutes to do the last one. I mean, you're halfway done with those 3 done, is what I'm saying, in terms of time. So, at that point, I just want to talk about what a safe time to save your game. Because you may not realize that Breakdown, even in the regular campaign of State of Decay, things happen even while you're not online. You quit the game and you come back to play the next day, one of your best characters is dead, because they wandered off or whatever. Something happened, they died. The best way to avoid that is to finish repairing the RV entirely and then go ahead and load the RV and put the people that you want to keep alive to go to the next level on the RV. And once they're on the RV, they cannot be killed. You don't have to worry about logging in and they're dead. Also, the person that you are currently playing, the character you're playing, cannot be killed while you're AFK, after you've exit the game. So, in terms of when to exit the game, there's really only 2 options. One is put everybody on the RV, like I just described. And then 2, if you're trying to save time and get through the levels faster, then you can complete all the repairs except the engine, and then trigger that one to start. It starts a 30-minute timer. Make sure all your characters are in your base. Look at their status. If they're away from home, you can switch to them and bring them back to home. And then you can exit out of the game right then. So you've only spent 30 minutes repairing the RV. You exit out of the game. You come back into play tomorrow. That timer that you started continues going, and when you log in, the RV has been repaired. You're ready to move on to the next level immediately. This doesn't mean that your characters can't be killed while you're gone. This isn't the safest approach, but if you're trying to save time, that's a good way to save a half an hour off your gameplay for each level. You just kind of have to decide what you want to do. And then after the RV is fixed, obviously the next step is to leave town, move on to the next level. Before you do that, you need to first make sure that you have all the right people on the RV. I always double check this before I move on, because once you've moved on, there's no going back. If you forget somebody, they're gone for good. definitely check and make sure you have the right people. The second thing to think about is when you start the next level, you're going to have 0 influence. You start each level with 0 influence. So that's not good. You need influence in order to, build an outpost, call in scavengers, whatever, do anything. So what I do is before I move on, I grab like a couple of high value guns or weapons or something out of my own storage locker, and then go ahead and move on to the next level. And then as soon as you start that level, you can put the items right back in the locker and gain influence for them. So you start out with some influence. Now there's no reason to go nuts doing this because your fame is capped at 100. So any influence you generate over 100 will just, fade away. This way you can always start each level with influence. Don't forget to do it. It's a real pain in the butt to start with 0 and not be able to do anything. So that's it. That's the guide. I've taken you all the way through step by step how to beat a level. You just have to repeat that, all the way to level 99 to get all the way through Breakdown. Now once you get to level 99 and beat it, the game doesn't actually end. You stay on level 99. You can play it over and over again if you want to. Before I give you some general gameplay tips, there's one more thing we got to talk about, and that is your storage locker management. The storage locker can only hold a certain number of items. If you played the campaign long enough, you may have run into this. But Breakdown, being as long as it is, like if you're not paying attention to the number of items in that locker, it will fill up over time. You have to watch out for automatic filling items like 2x4s, and I was trying to keep only blunt melee weapons in my locker, and I would look through it every once in a while, and there would be like fire axes and cutting blades and knives and stuff like that in there, and it's because they just appear in the locker. I don't know where they come from, but weapons just show up in there. If you can help it, don't put items in the locker to gain influence at all. Try to dump items into friendly enclaves lockers if you need some quick influence or gain your influence by completing missions. Make sure you limit the number of melee weapons. If you can go without putting any melee weapons in the locker, that's the way to do it. Same thing with guns. Limit the number of guns because they fill it up fast. What I like to do is for each of my 6 main characters, I have each one of them use a different caliber of weapon, and that way you're never going to run out of bullets of any one type. If you're following that philosophy, you only need 2 guns of each caliber. So that way, if you're firing one a lot and it gets damaged, you can put it in the locker, it'll get repaired, and you can use the other one. Keep a grenade launcher or heavy Mgmt or something like that. You don't need, a ton of those. Keep 1 of each, something like that. And just really limit the amount of weapons that you put in the locker. Medicine is another thing. If you keep dumping medicine in the locker, you're going to have stacks of hundreds of bottles of different kinds of medicine. It's tempting because you gain influence from them. Stuff like morphine and methadone you get a lot of influence for. But if you don't put any in your locker, you get some automatically when you bring back medical rucksacks anyway. So what I tend to do is when I'm out looking for resources, searching houses and stuff, if I find medicine, I just keep it on that character. I just grab all the medicine, keep it on me, and use it as I need it. Try not to put any in the locker to fill it up. When you're bringing back fuel resources, it gives you automatically petrol bombs for each rucksack. It's 3, I think, or 5 for each rucksack. So they will pile up into hundreds and hundreds of petrol bombs if you're not using them. You need to manage that as you go. Your life is going to be a lot easier if you manage the locker actively as you're playing versus waiting until it gets completely full and then trying to deal with it. Well, what do you do if your locker is full? You forgot, you didn't pay attention to it, you filled it up, now you can't put anything in it. It's a pain. I've been there. That's why I know this. I'm trying to share this. If you've been listening to this whole guide and all you want to know is how do I deal with my storage locker being full, this is how you do it. When you find a friendly enclave, you build an outpost right next to them as close as possible because you get a storage locker in your outpost. Then you can transfer items from your locker to theirs. And anything you put in their storage locker is effectively gone forever. I mean, unless you pull it back out again, it doesn't matter if you recruit them to join you, you don't get the items that are in their locker. So anything you dump in there is just a trash can. it's a pain in the ass to have to move, 100 items, you know, make multiple trips back and forth to get them all moved. Avoid this if possible. Please take my advice on this. Okay, so that's the guide. So let me give you a few general gameplay tips. Number one is watch for your people being away from home. I don't know where they go, but it seems like if somebody is away from home and you just ignore that, eventually they may go missing. They might initiate a mission like a zombie hunt that you didn't want to do, something like that. If you notice one of your players is away from home, you can switch to them and it will bring them back to your base. And you might have to do that a couple of times to get them to stay there. But just pay attention to that every time you come and go. Make sure everybody's there so you know they're safe. Tip number 2 is don't be afraid to set your allies on fire. If you've got a friendly that's being jumped by zombies, just toss a petrol bomb on them. Don't even worry about it. You can't kill them with fire. If you have a besieged mission, you're trying to like befriend your neighbors, it'll say, trust lost, ally set on fire. Well, you don't have to worry about that because the trust you gain from completing the mission will offset that anyway. So don't ever be afraid to set your allies on fire. Tip number 3 is don't die to save one of your survivors. If one of your survivors is getting mobbed and like you don't have any fire, there's nothing you can do, just get out of there, save yourself. It's not worth having, 2 people die potentially, or you losing one of your best characters to save some idiot that ran off on their own. Like we talked about earlier, if you're not there to witness it, they can't be killed. So if you can run away fast enough or drive off, you don't have to worry about trying to save them anyway. Another good tip is to make use of backup anytime you have it. If you have another survivor following you for any reason, that's a great time to loot, search houses or whatever while you have somebody with you. Or if you complete like a besieged and your neighbors are going to join you and you have 3 people following you, take full advantage of that. Go gather all the resources you need for the whole level while you have 3 people covering you. My very last tip is no matter what happens, don't give up. Just keep grinding. The game can be really tough and frustrating, but if you want to get all the way through to level 99, just don't give up. Keep going. You can do it. No! Arrgh! Come on! Fuck! Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys. Thanks for watching this ridiculously long guide. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, hit that like button, hit me up on Patreon. Take it easy.